Hey, welcome. So, have you ever stopped to think about our planet? I mean, really think about it? Not just as this big, beautiful rock floating out in space, but as a living, breathing system. It's this incredibly complex machine where every single part is connected, all working together to make life like ours possible. So, today, let's pop the hood and see what really makes this whole thing tick. To get us started, I've got a little riddle for you. What do a cloud, a mountain, and you, yes, you, have in common? I know, it sounds kind of strange, right? But the answer to that question gets to the very heart of how our planet actually works. See, they're all critical parts of one giant, interconnected system. All right, so scientists like to break this massive system down into four main parts, or what they call spheres. Now, a great way to think about these is like the planet's essential life support layers. Each one has its own special job, but here's the catch. None of them could exist without the others. So let's meet the team. First up, we've got the atmosphere. This is basically the huge blanket of air that wraps around our entire planet. It's mostly made of nitrogen and oxygen. Yep, the very air we're all breathing right now. This is where all our weather gets cooked up, rain, wind, you name it. And super importantly, it's got the ozone layer, which is like this planetary-sized sunscreen, protecting all of us from the sun's most harmful rays. Next on the list is the hydrosphere, and this is all the water. Seriously, all of it. We're talking the giant oceans, the winding rivers, those massive frozen glaciers, and even the water that's invisible, just hanging out as vapor in the air. This sphere covers something like 71% of our world, and it's a huge driver of our climate. It's the water that every living thing needs to survive. Then we've got the lithosphere. Now this one's easy. It's the ground right beneath your feet. It's the solid, rocky crust of our planet. That includes all the continents, the tallest mountains, and, of course, the soil we rely on to grow our food. It's literally the foundation we build our lives on. And last but definitely not least, we have the biosphere. This is the sphere of life itself. It includes every single living thing you can imagine, from the tiniest microbe in the soil to the biggest blue whale in the ocean. And yeah, that includes us. But what's so cool about the biosphere is that it's not in its own little box. It completely overlaps and interacts with all the others. Life is in the air, it's in the water, and it's on the land. It's everywhere. Okay, so now we have our four key ingredients. We've got the air, the water, the land, and life. But how does it all work together? What are the basic operating instructions for planet Earth? Well, it turns out this whole incredible system is run by two very simple, very fundamental rules. The whole shebang, the entire Earth system, is basically governed by just two core processes. First, it's all about how energy flows through it. And second, it's about how matter gets cycled within it. One of these is a one-way street, and the other is an endless loop. And understanding that difference, well, that's the key to understanding just about everything else. Let's tackle energy first. Almost all the juice that powers life on Earth comes from one place, the sun. So you've got plants, the producers, and they do this amazing thing where they capture sunlight and turn it into food. Then along come the consumers, like a rabbit that eats the grass or a fox that eats the rabbit. They get their energy by eating. And finally, when plants and animals die, decomposers, like fungi and bacteria, break them down. It's a pretty straightforward one-way flow of energy. But here is the wild part. Every time you go up a step in the food chain, about 90% of the energy is lost. It just escapes, mostly as heat. That means only about 10% of the energy makes it to the next level. Think about that. That's why there's so much more grass than there are rabbits, and way more rabbits than there are foxes. Energy doesn't get recycled. It gets used up. The system always needs a fresh supply from the sun. Okay, so now let's flip over to that second rule. Because unlike that one-way street of energy, matter is a whole different story. The atoms that make up our world, the carbon, the water, the nitrogen, they are never truly lost. They just change their form and get used over and over and over again in what are basically endless cycles. And when you put them side by side, the difference is just crystal clear. Energy flows one way, right? It comes from the sun, gets used, and is eventually lost as heat. You can't reuse it. Matter, on the other hand, it comes from the Earth and the atmosphere, and it just gets recycled on a continuous loop. It's conserved, not lost. One is a flow, the other is a cycle. Simple as that. Okay, I get it. All this talk about spheres and cycles can feel a little abstract. So how does this actually look in the real world? Let's bring it down to earth with a super simple, everyday example that ties everything we've just talked about together. Just think about a single plant.
Any plant. First, it puts its roots down into the soil. That's the lithosphere in action. Then it soaks up water that falls as rain. Hello, hydrosphere. It also breathes in carbon dioxide right from the air. That's the atmosphere. And of course, the plant itself is a living thing, so it's part of the biosphere. Right there in one little plant, you have all four spheres connected, all interacting with each other constantly. It's pretty amazing.
So why does all this matter? Why is it so important to understand this intricate dance? Well, because we're not just watching the show, we are in the dance. Our very survival depends completely on the delicate balance between all these systems, and everything we do has a direct impact on them.
So, if you take away just one thing today, let it be this. Our planet is made of four deeply interconnected systems. All life depends on the balance between them. This whole operation is powered by a one-way flow of energy from the sun, but it's sustained by the endless recycling of matter. And here's the kicker. Our activities, human activities, can and do impact all four of these spheres. And that kind of brings us to the big final thought, doesn't it? We're not just living on the Earth. We are an active, influential part of its biosphere. We're constantly affecting the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, and the lithosphere every single day. So the real question becomes, knowing this, knowing that we are such a powerful part of this incredibly complex system, what can we do to help protect its balance?